Okay, there we are. Hey, Kirk, do you wanna introduce us?
Sure. Okay. So, welcome to the podcast. I think it's week 5. Um, let me try that again. So, welcome to the 5th installment of the Make Guitar podcast. Today, we are going to talk about um, building your dream guitar versus buying your dream guitar, and other topics as we think of them.
Okay. Yeah, so that brings up the question though, what is your dream guitar?
Oh, well, it changes from time to time. From moment to moment.
Isn't isn't that the truth? God, I hate
Yeah,
that.
I mean, there are a few things that I'm watching on Reverb that sometimes it'll spark a thread of other guitars that I like. We were talking about SGs with P90s recently, so I've been watching those. That's a pretty cool guitar. Um,
hmm
I also kind of like those double cutaway Les Paul specials.
Oh yeah, I like that too. Not the SG, but the kind of melody maker style.
Yeah. Similar
Yeah.
to the Melody Maker. It's got the longer horn on top, slightly longer.
Oh yeah. I know which one you're talking about. So that's not quite the melody maker. It's the
Right.
it's the Les Paul
It's the
double cut.
asymmetrical. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are cool too.
hmm
I kind of like the melody maker shape a little better.
I do too. But I mean that's a different guitar.
It is actually, yeah, you're totally right. Yeah. Actually, it's funny you should bring this up because I saw a couple of guitars that on Reverb that I thought we should talk about. So I put them in that notes thing. I don't know if you have the notes thing if you
Oh
want to
yeah, I
take a
saw.
look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are pretty interesting guitars.
Yeah. One of them's the silver, um, it's like a Stratocaster, like a Squier Affinity,
hmm
and it looked pretty cool. It had like the tortoise shell pick guard, which I thought was kind of a good mix with the silver.
Yeah, I looked at that and um I forgot to look at the price that it was sold for. I know it's not around anymore, but now that couldn't have been an expensive guitar, but the Affinity is it's well regarded, by players.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it was like 300 bucks, I think.
okay.
So that's not bad, right? Maybe a little high. I don't know if I don't really follow the prices, so maybe that's high. I don't know, but it was a good looking guitar.
Actually, I think that's normal. I think that's a pretty normal price for an Affinity series Squire. Um, I've never really liked Squires. Maybe it's the name, and it just like seems like like a
Like
boy that like
like the
takes
sidekick,
takes
you
care of
know.
your
You're
horse.
not the hero, you're the.
You're the Squire.
Yeah. Hand me my lance, squire.
Yeah.
Then step aside.
Yeah, I'm just like that concept for me. It's just like it makes the name of that guitar brand like not appealing to me. I know you have a
Yeah.
couple of Squires that are really cool.
Do I? I
Yes, you do.
have
You have
the
a Subsonic.
oh, you're right. Yeah, I do have the Subsonic. I was thinking of the Hello Kitty one.
Oh, is that a Squire?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you've got that, and then you've got the Bass 6.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. I guess that's a Squire too. So I guess I got 3 of them.
Yeah.
Wow. Actually, you know what? That Squire, the baritone in the closet, I have another one that's just like that, but it's not a baritone.
Oh wow.
It's like the
Okay.
same color. It actually has a tremolo. It has like a Floyd Rose on it. I got to get rid of some guitars, because I never even
Yeah.
play them.
I'm surprised you have that guitar because that's like the Floyd Rose. It's like it's such a tremolo.
Yeah. I don't know why I got that. I think it was cheap. It was like $150 or something. It wasn't that expensive. And then I thought like, oh, this will be a good modding guitar. Like I'll,
Mhm.
and it has a tremolo, so I can do tremolo stuff, right? But then I can mod it, and then I never did. And it has it's interesting about the baritone and that other Squier. I think they're a series called Stage Master.
Oh,
And
okay.
what's interesting about those two guitars is they're neck through, so they're not bolt-ons.
Hmm.
So I think that's why I got it. Is I was like, oh, this is an interesting guitar to mod, like, but it's not a bolt-on. I was young and impressionable. I don't know. I felt like you had to have a neck through guitar or you weren't real. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they are nice. It's just like the feel of it is nice. The bolt-on neck heel on a Fender guitar, as we've discussed, it is very, like it's just abrupt. It's clunky and awkward to, get your hand around.
Yeah, for all of the genius of the Fenders, like and even the bolt-on neck is kind of a genius idea because you can repair any of those guitars. You can just replace
Hmm.
the neck. You need a new neck, right? It's almost cheaper to buy a new neck with new frets on it than it is to get your old neck refretted, right?
Right.
So there like, and if anything happened, like you drop your guitar and you break the headstock, new neck, like easy.
Hmm.
That said, the neck joint is kind of like clunky. It's not beautiful, not
Right.
elegant, lacks elegance. I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's another guitar I put on that list that I saw. It was because we had talked about the Smartwood guitars.
Oh, yeah.
So if you look at the other link, there's a link to because I ran into one of the, like, Reverb knows me, so like I go to Reverb and then they start showing me Smartwood guitars, right? So I saw this one. There's a couple on there that are kind of meh, but this one, it just like, this had like the top that, like, where that like when I see a Smartwood guitar that I like, it has a top like this. It's just like really nice wood. It looks like like your dad's hi-fi cabinet or something.
It is really nice looking. So, what is Smartwood? Did we talk about that before?
We kind of did. I don't know a lot about them, but I guess at some point, like, Gibson started making, Les Pauls out of like exotic wood, you know? And they called it the Smartwood series, and it's supposed to be like sustainable and kind of have an eco-friendly kind of vibe to it.
Okay, so it doesn't come from smart trees or something like that. It's
No, no,
or it's not like man-made wood or something.
no. And this one is like, I guess it's got a mahogany body, but then the top is Moracatiara tigerwood, and the
Oh,
fretboard is Precioso or Preciosa. Yeah, I can't even pronounce it. It's some weird wood I've never even heard of. I mean, it just looks like a totally swanky mahogany top.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's
It's got some
darker
nice
and
grain
it's
on
like a
it.
little darker and redder. And
Hmm.
then the fretboard's like a little lighter than like a rosewood or a lot lighter than a ebony.
Yeah, it's a nice combination of colors,
Yeah.
and the
Well,
grain is
the
beautiful.
thing about that guitar too is like, this is the other thing, like the thing that I don't like about the Smartwood guitars is they always have these cream plastics. Or not always, there's a couple like I've seen that have like there was one, it had like an ash top, so it was really light, and then they used black plastics and that was okay. But like these always have like cream plastics, and I always think the cream plastics looks kind of ugly.
I don't mind it. I mean, I think it depends on the color of the wood. Um, I mean, I see what you mean, and cream plastics can look kind of cheap, also. Um,
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it does look kind of low rent, you know, like you're living in an apartment, you're not owning the house, or.
mhm. Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's a good looking guitar.
Yeah. There was another one. I forget what that model was. Like a couple years ago, they had Yeah, it was the Gibson HP, like high performance.
Oh, high
Have
performance.
have you seen
Okay.
those?
Uh, don't think so. No. Um,
Oh, go take a look at the HP because it's
okay.
kind of unique. It looks like a Les Paul, but it has a couple like unique features. And it's one of those guitars. I don't think Trogley has even reviewed one of those yet, which is kind of surprising because he's reviewed everything.
Right.
Yeah, look up the Les Paul HP.
I mean, they're very kind of like far out color schemes, and a lot of like kind of uh, pronounced like flame kind of tiger striped grain to them.
Yeah, they have kind of the outlandish, like it's definitely not traditional.
Mm-hmm.
And then the burst is a little weird too. So the burst doesn't go all the way around the body. It's kind of like more of a drop, like it's more like front to back rather than, all the way around the perimeter.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that on some other models.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you look at the pickups closely?
looks like there's no pickup rings.
Yeah, there's no ring and there's no screws either. So the pickups just come through the body. That kind of is the thing that I really liked about it. Like
Yeah, I
if
think
there's
that's my
anything,
favorite feature of the whole guitar.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know how they do it because look at the back. Like find one and look at the back of the guitar if you can see a picture of it.
Interesting. There's four screws
Yeah,
to I guess to adjust the pickup height.
yeah. So they must have some special thing, and I wonder about them. Like because the pickups, like there's no room. Like if you got a standard humbucker, it has those little wings.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no room from the pickup has to go in through the top because there's no opening on the back. So they have to drop it in, but then somehow it mounts to something inside. But could you replace it with a regular humbucker? Or does it have a special base? It must have a special base of some kind.
Yeah, I bet it has different. Like the wings aren't they don't stick out. They maybe are underneath it. So it
Yeah, maybe,
just
yeah. Yeah. I,
um,
I actually, when they first came out with this, I was Googling around trying to find a picture of the interior to see like how the pickups went in there because I thought it was kind of interesting. That's why when I was working on my guitar, that's part of the inspiration that I got when I did mine the way that I did it. But I have screws so I could just do regular humbuckers and then I have mine is routed out from the back so you can drop the pickups in from the backside, so you could
right.
replace the pickups with a standard humbucker.
Yeah, and that's a nice feature. Like having to remove the ears on any pickup that you want to drop in there would be um, kind of a pain in the butt.
Oh yeah. And you'd buy some expensive pickups maybe and then you'd be ruining them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe you could desolder the back plate and unscrew it and replace it, but that seems like a lot of work.
Oh yeah, yeah, for
So
sure.
I really like that the Gibson HP, like the Les Paul HP, but like I think it's cool, but like one, the finishes are a little outlandish,
Mm-hmm.
and two, like you're kind of just stuck. Like that's not a guitar you're going to upgrade. Like originally, maybe I'm going to try and bring us back full circle here. Like that's a guitar you could buy it. It could be your dream guitar, but you couldn't upgrade it. You're just stuck with that guitar. You're not going to change it, which maybe like is smart. I wish you know, I should have done that. The first guitar I bought should have been the guitar I used for the rest of my life, and I'd probably be a better player, right? I went through so many guitars and spent so much money on parts and crap.
Well, here's my philosophy on that: is that that's kind of a that's kind of a lucky thing. Like if your first guitar, it's like if you like marry the your high school sweetheart. Um, you have to be sort of lucky to get that, to have that situation um, occur. Most people don't do it.
Yeah.
They have to like experiment and try out different guitars. Um,
Yeah. I think you could do that if you had the perspective of like, a 50-year-old person at the age of 17. You know what I mean? Because
mhm.
I think at the age of like 15 or 14 or 17, like whenever I started playing guitar, it was just about getting a guitar. It wasn't really thinking about the future. Like I could have saved up a little more money. Like I just bought like a Memphis, like actually, it was a Les Paul double cut like you were describing, but it was a Memphis.
Oh, okay.
But at that time, like if I had saved up a little more money, I could have just waited, and I could have bought like a Gibson double cut, and it probably would have cost like 3 or 4 times, been a few $100s, a lot
Hmm.
cheaper and worth something now, right?
Right.
But I was just like, well, I just have just enough money to buy a guitar. I'm buying a guitar today, like, and that's that.
Hmm.
Right. And I probably spent like, it was less than $100. I think I spent like $80 or something, it's solely cheap,
Yeah,
and
I remember this. I came across a guitar. It actually was previously owned by Paul Westerberg of the Replacements, and
oh,
it was a Gibson ES330 with a Bigsby on it, and it was $650. But this was in like, I don't know, 1992 or something like that. Like hollow bodies weren't worth anything then. Um, and I regretted not buying it like for my whole life since then. Like that would have been like, that's a guitar that it's going to be at least 3 grand, if not 6 or 10.
yeah. Yeah, I just think if I was smarter, but it's hard to be that way, when you're young, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what's
And you don't know what the
available.
market's going to do.
Yeah, you don't even know what you want to do, right?
Right. Right.
You know, but anyway, I guess we can just pass our advice on to the young people. Save your
Yeah.
money, buy something nice today. It'll be worth more in the future. Don't ruin it. Don't refinish it. Don't.
Well, I mean, that's some advice, but I really believe that, if, okay, say your dream guitar is um like a Strat, or um even like a Fender Jaguar or something like that. Um there are some really good guitars that you can get um for that, 550 to 700 range, um that you can make into your dream guitar. They won't have that mojo of a original 60s guitar necessarily, but um I don't know, there's like the Player series that are made in Mexico. Those are really good guitars.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think you need like vintage mojo. I don't think that does anything for you. I think you just need
Hmm.
like a well-made kind of guitar with a good setup, and that's it's playable. But you have to like it.
Right.
So you have to get
Yes.
it and you have to enjoy it. You don't, if you get something and then later you're like, I got this thing, but I didn't really like it,
Hmm.
because you got it, you cut some corners because you're like, oh, I'm gonna get the different thing because it's a little cheaper, or they didn't have the color that I wanted in stock or whatever it was, whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that, like if you're looking for a guitar um that you want to be able to upgrade and kind of like, that can grow with you, kind of a thing, like um where you're not worried about devaluing like a valuable instrument. Get something that has, that you can make changes to without a lot of work. Like my Mustang, I mean, I can never put um, humbuckers in it without routing, and I can't change the tremolo that's on it. Um, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do with a bolt-on neck guitar with a with a pick guard on the front. with pickguard mounted pickups, I should say. Um, and if I
Yeah.
wanted to go crazy and route it out, it's not like it's $1,000 guitar. It's only, I don't know. I think I paid $650 or something for it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not bad, right? I think that plays pretty good too. I mean,
Yeah.
you had the plec done, so like that, like the plec makes things play great. So,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So what else should we talk about? We were on the topic of like, what was it? It was like making the guitar or making the perfect guitar.
Um, yeah. It's like if modding is a hobby that you enjoy, and it's like you want to become good at, you know, um, working on a guitar, or, making the guitar that you want. I'd say by all means get an Epiphone or a Squier and make mods to it. If you are concerned about resale value, then getting a guitar and modding it is never going to be um, it's never going to be the answer. Even if it's an expensive guitar, like value. So so yeah, I mean, I think buying a cheap guitar, like like the Epiphone Les Paul Junior that I have for $100, and then making some minor mods to it it's a great way to get um, a really cool, great playing guitar if you know how to make some basic um, fixes and mods to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I'll second that. So get something cheap but playable, and
Hmm.
then you mod it. And if you're not going to mod, I think I'd save my money and just buy something nice.
I think that's good advice.
You
Yeah,
know,
if you don't want to get involved in modding, just like save up and get something that you like.
yeah, maybe something that inspires you. Like you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Sometimes the cheap guitars can be inspiring, but maybe they don't inspire as well as something that's nicer.
right. Yeah, our friend Dustin, he had a Squier Strat, like that was his first guitar, and then he had his eye on a Rickenbacker. I think it's called a 335 or something like that. It's like the big hollow body, and he he uh, he was on a cruise with his parents or something like that, or he went to Vegas or whatever, and he did a little bit of gambling, and he won like $1,500.
Wow, nice.
And he's like, "I'm done. I'm getting that guitar." And
Yeah,
that's the
good
only guitar that he'd had for years and years.
good call.
Hmm.
Smart. That was great. Yeah, good move, right? Yeah, we should all do that if we could just get everybody in the world to go gamble, win $1,500 and hold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then get a guitar that you're never going to make changes to.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
we could start the world's largest guitar band.
yeah,
Get everybody to join.
actually, this is going to bring us back to Harley Benton. Phil McKnight uh, went to an event in Germany where they did that. They just basically got everybody together that was kind of in town for this convention, or that maybe they went specifically for the like the largest guitar jam ever, and they all learned a song and played it. It was like a big orchestra in a
Of
stadium
guitars.
of guitars.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, I had an idea like that one time, and I guess my idea was just the name. It would be an orchestra of guitars called the Swarm.
The Swarm. I like the name. Yeah.
That's the only thing I had for it. It's just like this. I would imagine it would sound like a swarm of insects.
Oh, that's really funny. Yeah, yeah, I could see that. That sounds pretty good, Get everybody to play. And people could play wrong notes too, and it might be okay in the swarm.
Yeah.
You just have this giant buzz. Everybody
Hmm.
needs a fuzz box.
Yeah.
We gotta have like ultimate fuzz box swarm, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. So what else are you working on? You working on anything in particular?
Well, I've got a couple projects. Some of them are in the shopping phase. I got this to return to our previous discussion topic. I got this husk. It's basically a Telecaster with a glued-in neck, a glued-in maple neck, and I'm going to get some. Well, I'm going to get some parts and make it into a guitar. But yeah, it was I think 75 or $100, really cheap. It's got a finish on it. Um, it's bound. Um, so I think it'll be a pretty cool guitar.
Yeah, it was like a set neck telly, right?
Yeah.
With kind of the Black Beauty style, right? With a white binding and black.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that sounds awesome, actually. I like the sound of that, you know?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that launch.
Yeah, I think like one of the things, about this that makes it kind of a money pit but is fun, is just putting different combinations of stuff together.
Right.
So, you're describing like a guitar that's a Fender, but it's got some Gibson appointments, and it's going to be 25 and a half inch scale, right? With humbuckers, like, I don't know, it's very interesting. Let me ask you this. Does it have a three-way switch up on the upper bout, or is it like a telly style switch?
No, it's got a tele style control route and
Okay.
no routing underneath for the switch on the upper bout.
Okay, interesting. So how are you gonna just wire it up like a traditional telly?
Yeah, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put the Mean 90, the GFS humbucker size P90s in it, and then wire it up with the telly switch and a volume and a tone. So real
Okay.
simple.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. Let me ask this question though. So are you gonna get reverse wound pickups, like one reverse wound, so when
Yeah.
it's in the middle position, it's noise canceling?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be a very, I don't know, I think it'll be a very functional guitar. I'm also going to put a Bigsby-esque kind of tremolo on it, but it's drilled for the string through, so I might leave that, like put ferrules on the back and just leave those holes
Yeah.
accessible if you want to bypass the Bigsby and just have it be string through like a telly.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, you know what I saw? I was on that Trogley guy's show. He reviewed I forget what it was called. It was like a SG Junior, but it wasn't really a Junior. It was like an SG with like one of those like vibrola kind of tremolos, right? But it was
Nice.
white. I think
Hmm.
he called it like the White Fox. And it had like an ebony cover over the tremolo on the back, like a little piece of
Oh, right.
ebony.
Yeah.
But also under the pick guard, it had like a second P90, but underneath it had one P90, and then kind of like not underneath the strings,
Hmm.
but like down by the lower horn at an angle, it had a second P, and he took the pick guard off and showed a route, and it just had it was just like the P90, like the coil
Yeah.
without the magnets. And I guess that's there just as like a noise canceling, like dummy pickup. And
Yeah,
then
I
he
thought that
said,
was really cool.
"Oh, you saw that one?"
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then it had like a switch, like so you could turn off the noise canceling pickup or turn it on. You had to push pull pot.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea. And it's weird that they would, like have it not be under the strings. Um, like they could have put it under the pick guard and underneath the strings, but I suppose it would interfere with the magnets would actually pull on the strings.
I think that pickup didn't have any magnets in it. I think it was just the coil,
Oh, okay.
right? So it's just there to pick up the signal that's around the guitar from the air.
Hmm.
And the regular coil does the same, except the dummy coil is wound backwards.
Right.
So if we send the signal through both of them, like they cancel each other out, right? So the the ambient like electronic interference, like it's going one direction through one pickup and the other direction through the other pickup, and so it cancels each other out. But the guitar signal comes in through the magnets,
Right.
right? The strings, right? Yeah, so I think they could have put it in there. I think they probably did it more because the guitar, it also had like a long neck tenon.
Oh, okay.
So I
Yeah.
think they would have had to route out some of the neck tenon, and it might not have fit exactly under the pick guard, right? Because the P90 coil is actually, it's actually pretty wide. They could have done like, they could have made a custom coil, but they just used, it looked like they just used a regular P90 coil,
Yeah.
right? The bobbin was the same. So I think they had a problem getting it to fit. And then it maybe have been a problem too with the neck tenon. Like they didn't want to route away some of the neck tenon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was really weird that the place they put it was totally unexpected. So that was
Yeah.
kind of interesting,
Yeah. That's cool that they made it so that you could bypass it, because that's one of the things that people complain about with noise canceling, is that it the tone.
Huh. Yeah, you're reminding me of is that like I was starting that other one of those other guitars, one of the many guitar projects, right? But
Mm-hmm.
one of them, my plan was to put 3 P90s on this guitar. And so had been thinking about the wiring, and I think my idea was, now that I'm thinking back on it, I think my idea was to use one reverse wound P90 in the middle, right? And that it would just always be on, or maybe it would have a volume control, so you could, because that's how like those humbucker guitars with 3 humbuckers,
Mm-hmm.
usually the middle pickup is always on, and then you can switch the bridge and the neck pickups. The switch basically works this like normal on those, right? But I rewired, sometimes they're wired differently. Like I rewired one of the guitars I had so that the volume, one of the tone controls became a volume control for the middle pickup. So the middle pickup's always on, there's a master tone, and then that other tone control now is a volume for the middle pickup, so you can mix it in.
I would prefer that. I mean, like, having some experience with a Strat style guitar, the middle pickup, um, definitely has its own sound. Um,
Yeah,
and I'm finding that lately I've been playing with just my bridge pickup for certain kinds of playing, and
yeah,
I would miss having that option in a big way if the middle pickup was always on.
true. Yeah, yeah. I think like if you do like a music that has like a lot of dynamic changes and things, if
Mm-hmm.
you're just playing through a fuzz box and you're just like big muff all the time, then maybe it matters less.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, if you want to do your finger picking and like, all these other styles, you want to get some strumming in there and some sparkly, jangly tones, and then some kind of muted, muffled kind of, where your tone control is rolled off and you got the bridge pickup or the neck pickup on. Yeah, it's gonna, the middle pickup always being on is gonna kind of interfere with the range of options.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, right now my favorite sound is the bridge pickup on the Mustang, which is a pretty low output. I don't remember what it is, but it's somewhere up, it's probably like 5 um whatever, in that realm, and it's like, it goes great with like a rockabilly, like, kind of just a little bit of delay,
Hmm.
that slap back delay.
Yeah,
um yeah, having the neck pickup on at the same time just changes the tone completely.
oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to get back to that guitar, but I think my original plan was 3 P90s. One of them is reverse wound, and then either it's always on or it has a volume control, I think were my two plans. Though I guess I suppose I could put a switch on it or something, but I think that was my original plan, was that maybe it would have three knobs, like a volume, master tone, and then a volume control for the middle pickup.
Yeah, I think that's a good solution. I think that'll.
I don't know, you know, but this is the thing about having all the extra guitars and modding guitars, and you know, is you get to try these things.
Right.
You know, and I think that's the thing, one of the things that interests me is like, I'm like, what is it, what would that sound like, I wonder, you know, like, would that be interesting? Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I gotta get back to that, you know. I should try and get on that, you know. I have that one, I start on things and then I get to a point where I'm kind of an amateur, so I'm not quite sure how to handle some situation, you know. Like I have this neck and I got the body, but the neck is made for a set neck guitar, but it's not going to have a neck angle. And so the way that this neck is cut, there's a little bit of an angle to the heel.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to figure out a way to kind of straighten it out so it'll meet the body kind of at 90 degrees instead of the little bit of the angle that it has, or I'm not sure what, you know. So, you know, I've been probably thinking about that for 6 months or a year now. So, you know.
Well, I hope you've been doing other things while you're
Yeah.
thinking about that.
You know, there's all sorts of things to do, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to work on this, this trem shifter. So I got the thing here. I'll share it with you again, right? So this is the design here. So this is the box will look like this. I'll have a knob here for the rate and the depth, and rate and the depth for the tremolo. The first one is for the filter, and then it's got a volume control. And then it'll have an LED switch for the filter. So this will turn the filter on, and this will be the bypass. And then I guess I'll have an LED here for the tremolo. What if I put it in between the two things here like that? I don't know. So I got to decide what to do, you know. But anyway, this is going to be the design, and then I got to mill that onto the box.
Looks
you know,
good.
so
Yeah, I mean, I think like interface design. Well, that's the skill you're using when you design, you know, your control layout, and you want it to make sense to, you know, without training, so you can use the pedal just kind of by figuring it out.
Yeah. Actually, you know, the original one was the first one I made was this one, and I find the controls to be really confusing, like the layout of them. Like this is like the volume over here, and then this is like the rate and the depth, but they're at an angle, so it's like hard to read, you know. And you know, and then there's the 3 LEDs there, and it's hard to tell what LED does what. Like I think this middle one is the bypass, and then this one is for the tremolo rate, and the other one's for the filter rate. So it's hard to read. So I thought, like, maybe the second time through, I'll try and do a better job, you know. Actually, I'm cutting open this package because I ordered some parts from Tida here, and
you should do an unboxing.
oh yeah, total. Well,
People
they're just
love unboxings.
Yeah. Well, they're unboxing the boxes because these are just the, you know, it's just a bunch of these BB sized boxes.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I had some that were in color, but then I thought, like, I think I'm going to do a black one, you know. I'd done those other pedals in black, and so I kind of like the look of it. So I thought, like, you know, I'll do this one as a black one also, you know.
The Black Series.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks really good.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to do it like I did the other one. I'll do the volume knob in red, and then I'll do maybe the tremolo knobs in black, and then the other tremolo knob, the filter knob in rate and depth in gray. And maybe that'll kind of make it easy to understand, you know. I got to order the knobs though still too, but But anyway, I bought and then, typically when I do a box, if I mill it on the machine, the first one doesn't always come out.
Oh,
And so I've ruined a few boxes, so I got a few spares. So I bought how many did I get here? I got 6 maybe. Well, 4, I guess, right? So I think 4. I think if I have 4 boxes, I can, I'll get one that's good, right?
actually, I should adopt that philosophy. Buy extra parts in case you mess stuff up.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. Well, and then I think buying the extra parts is great too, because then you have some spares left over to build the next thing.
Right.
Right. So I always like to have a couple extras. I actually end up with a lot of extra junk hanging out, but I feel like if I ran into a project, I could just sit down and pretty much put it together from the parts on hand,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just bought some, or I put them in my cart, but those jacks so that you can adapt existing pickups to the quick plug, the GFS quick plug system. Because I'm going
Oh,
to, I bought a wiring harness for a quick plug system, and I was like, well, I want to use them on this, those little killer humbucker pickups. So,
yeah.
um,
I think I think actually their quick plug system is pretty cool. I had the idea
mhm.
to make something like that myself, but theirs is better than the one that I was picturing, right? Because the one I pictured was like using those little kind of square like headers, that you see in a lot of places,
Yeah, like
Um,
sometimes guitars will be wired up with those.
yeah, I kind of thought I'd use some of those and they'd plug into the cavity and you'd have like a little circuit board with a header on it, right?
Hmm.
But then you have a problem because sometimes those things like that they don't fit through the routing because you have a
Yeah.
hole drilled and it won't fit through, right? But what GFS did is they used that 1/8 inch plug, so it's kind of narrow, so you can feed it through one of those cavity routes, right? Or the hole that's drilled, right? It's about 1/4 inch, so that kind of would fit. And then they put the jack on the pickup. I was going to put the jack in the cavity where the pots are, right?
Right.
And I think everybody else, the Gibson does that. Everybody does it that way, right? But the GFS ones, the pickup has the plug, so that way you could actually take the pickup out without trying to undo the wiring, and you
Right.
could just plug a new pickup in. So it was pretty smart. I haven't actually tried one yet. That's like another one where I'm like, oh great, I could try that, and give it a try just to see how it worked, right? And then that
Right.
would just be like a bunch of time on the workbench and like money down the drain and another guitar to experiment on, right?
Hmm.
Though I mean, it's like I don't want to. I'm kind of sounding kind of negative, but I mean, I think like it's still fun to do, and like it's also like you learn stuff from it. It keeps your mind active. It gives you something to do, and experiment with. Maybe you learn something new. So, and there's nothing wrong with it really. It's a hobby.
Yeah, it's the hobby, and it's like it's so easy to swap pickups and to like put your guitar together. Um, but it doesn't take away from the kind of the gee whiz factor. It's like it's cool that somebody engineered that system, and putting it together is actually kind of fun. It's like plugging in your stereo, your stereo equipment or whatever. It's easy, but it doesn't make it any less enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, it'd be great too is if it somehow turned that into some kind of standard. So you could just get a guitar from or a pickup from anybody and plug it into a guitar, with the quick plug.
Well, you can adapt any pickup to be used with the quick plug by getting those little sockets, and then you have to, cut the wire and
Huh.
then solder
Do
it
do
onto
they
the
have
little.
like an adapter? Because it's like a stereo 1/8 inch jack, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So there's the little adapter, and you epoxy it onto the back of your pickup, and then solder the um the cable from the pickup right to it, to the little circuit
Interesting.
board. And yeah, I'm gonna do that with some pickups, and I'll
Huh.
make a video about it.
Yeah, I want to see that. I'm actually really curious. I'd like to see it because, like I said, like I was really interested in those quick plugs when I saw them the first time, and then I kind of stopped myself from actually buying any of them because I don't know. I was just like, yeah, I don't need any more pickups. I already got pickups, you know.
Hmm.
Maybe if you do it though, maybe I'll just get the jack and I'll just set mine up to use the quick plug, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know, like, why you'd want a guitar that switch the pickups out on regularly, um, but you could do that. If I don't
Can I
know.
ask a question?
Yeah.
Does it have like, I can't remember, but was it I said stereo jack earlier because that's how I seem to remember it, but is it a stereo jack or does it have 4 wires?
It might be 4.
Okay.
Um,
Because that might be
yeah.
one option is like you have the 3 wires, but what if you wanted to do a coil split or something like that? I think you need the 4th wire for that.
Oh, you can definitely do the coil split. I did that on um I on my kind of jazz mastery guitar. It's got 3-way mini switches for each pickup.
Yeah, but I mean, and you did that with the quick plug?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Huh.
In fact, the wiring harness came set up for that. So
So it
uh,
came set up for the quick plug and the coil splitting and stuff.
yeah,
Oh, that's super cool.
it
Yeah,
really
I got
is.
to
Yeah,
see that. I want to see it, you know.
yeah. I think there's a video on our channel where I put it together. Um,
Oh, dude, I haven't seen that. I gotta go look that one up.
oh yeah, I can send you a link.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'll have to check it out. So let's see. What do you have you been listening to anything interesting?
Well, uh, I wouldn't say it's interesting, but because I got this acoustic guitar, the little cheap acoustic guitar, and I've been working on finger picking, I decided I would. Well, I didn't decide. YouTube decided that I wanted to listen to a Radiohead acoustic playlist, and
Hmm.
so um, so yeah, I thought it was interesting to listen to these songs that I knew somewhat well, but when they're played acoustically, they don't have any of the effects and things that Radiohead will normally put on their, on their sound. Um, and there's one song in particular, I think it's called "Exit Music for a Film," and it has a really cool finger picking pattern. So that's what I've been playing when I'm not playing, like rockabilly surf guitar on my Fender Mustang. I've been playing finger picking guitar on my little acoustic guitar.
Oh, cool. That sounds super neat. Yeah, that arpeggios is like an area where I think on the surface you look at it and you go like, "Oh, okay, that's easy. Everybody can do that." But I think like it's very underneath the surface, it goes very deep. Like, to
Hmm.
be the master of arpeggios is like, is not easy. Right.
Yeah, yeah. I really have to commend Radiohead for that song because the finger picking pattern it's pretty intricate, and it's kind of like the signature of that song.
Hmm. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll have to maybe send me a link to that and I'll listen to it.
All right, yeah. I mean, they play it much better than I can. Um,
Well, they wrote it.
they
So,
did, yeah, and
you know,
they've been playing it on stages all over the world for years. So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's
kind of
your
have a lot of
problem, Kirk.
practice.
You just got to get yourself on stages all over the world.
That's true. Yeah.
I kind of wonder how many bands like were just not that great before they got famous and they got famous like on stage in front of thousands of people, or they got
Hmm.
practice, right?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I think that's like the story of like U2 or something like that. Like, um, the Edge has this, he's sort of like uh, synonymous with delay. He's probably trying to like mask the simplicity of his playing initially, and through a lot of touring, he got to actually be a pretty good guitarist. Um,
yeah.
Beyond just like the use of delay.
Yeah, I don't know that people like associate him with all the virtuoso players, but I mean, I think he's pretty good,
Hmm.
like, right? He's got, I mean, all politics and all that other stuff aside, like, I mean, I had that album when I was in high school. I think it was called Unforgettable Fire. It was produced by
Mm-hmm.
Brian Eno. It's like a great record. It's really well done. It's got this really cool ambient kind of thing going on. Um,
Yeah.
just on the edge though, what's funny is I used to live with a bunch of roommates, right? And we shared a flat in San Francisco, and
Mm.
everybody was like art. I went to art school with a bunch of these people, and everybody was in a band, and
Hmm. And one of
or
them was the Edge.
no, but two of them were from Ireland,
Oh, okay.
and they were really into music. So I remember sitting around with Max, and like you'd go to the record store and you'd just get a bunch of weird records, and we'd sit around and listen to them, and we'd listen to Ball, like B.A.A.L. I forget what it stands for, but the name of the band was Ball. And then there was another band, King Missile, before they were
Oh,
famous,
yeah.
like, and Max was really into comics too. So we'd talk comic books and we'd listen to records. And I remember one day somehow U2 came up, and he was like, oh yeah, I remember seeing those guys in Ireland, at the pub. We hated those guys. We booed them off we couldn't
Mm.
stand like, he was just like, yeah, we hated those guys. And then they're like super famous,
Hmm.
super giant. But anyway, just hearing Max like talk about them was kind of funny, because like at that time they were really big. This was probably like in the like early 90s, like 1990, 91. So they
Hmm.
were really big then, but Max was like, yeah, back in the 80s we used to see those guys, in the pub, and we hated them. He's like, we'd throw shit at them.
I'm kind of curious why they hated them, but I do think that they were really success oriented. Um, like the impression I got, maybe it's from this movie I saw about a band that they were friends with U2, and one of the guys had been in U2, but he had a friend who convinced him repeatedly that U2 wasn't, their band was going to be bigger than U2, and so he pulled him away from U2, and they were, perpetually just like too far away from, just they were never going to succeed to the level of U2. And this, I think this guy like he ended up hating the front man of this band because he could have been in U2.
Yeah, we all make bad decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, like buying all these guitars over here was like bad
Uh,
decision making.
I don't know. I
I'm
don't know
only
if you can.
kidding.
Yeah. I mean, that makes me think of as a documentary about people who collect Star Wars memorabilia, and there was this guy who's like talking about his collection, and it's like, this piece of crap cost me $200. It's like, some like a R2D2 changing table or something like that, just like stupid stuff that he had to have because it had Star
Yeah,
Wars on it, and it
yeah.
made him really angry.
I'm kind of a collector too. I totally understand the collector mentality.
Hmm.
Yeah, the funny thing too, I don't want to get too deep into YouTube. I don't really even know that much about them. Like I just had the one record in high school. I probably got it more for the Brian Eno aspect than
Hmm.
the U2 aspect, because like I had Frippertronics record. What was it called? No Pussyfooting. It's like Brian Eno and Robert Fripp. Right? I had that, which is pretty cool. Ambient weirdo. It's like guitar music, but like made with tape loops. So
Yes.
before they had these electronic loopers, like, they'd set up like two tape machines, and the tape would play through one machine where it would record, and then it would go into the other machine where it would record again, like,
Yeah.
like 2 minutes or 3 minutes down the line.
Right. Yeah, I took an audio class where we did that, and you'd take like microphone stands and you put like a reel on the top of the microphone stand, and then move it like 5 feet away from the tape machine, so you get
Yeah.
extra stretch on the tape and an
Yeah.
extra delay.
Yeah. I think Fripp though, and they had like two tape machines too. So it was like not just one tape, it was like two of them.
Oh no, we would use two tape machines
Oh
too.
yeah, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I don't quite get it, but nowadays you can do all that stuff with digital whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? So,
But does it decay like the analog signal would?
I don't think that it does, except it does nowadays with the DSP technology. Like I think
Mm,
there's a few, like Strymon makes a few echoes that have like a lot of delay time,
mm,
and they also decay, like, they have options where you can get like, like the flutter and the crackle of tape and the
mm.
degradation of tape.
It would be interesting to compare it. There was this record that was made, was probably in the 50s or 60s, called "My Name Is Una," and it's a recording of a little girl saying "My name is Una," and then by the end of it, like by the end of the second side of the record, it's just like it's just like a crazy
Oh,
blobby
funny.
sound.
So it just plays over and over and over again.
Yeah,
Oh, that's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
I'd like to hear
then
that.
through, like, the tape loops and increased delay time, it just
Yeah.
becomes muck.
Yeah, there's a guy named Heinbach. He does these YouTube videos about synthesizer stuff. He's like a very animated German guy. He has this German accent, but he's actually really interesting. And I don't really know the background on him, but I think what he does is he runs a store that in Germany that sells Eurorack electronic stuff, right?
Okay.
Eurorack modules and electronic music making stuff, right? But then he also has a thing for test equipment. So this is like electronic stuff like you might use in a lab to generate a tone so you can check your phone machine, or like your audio lines for, communication systems, right? And then there's other like test equipment that generates like clock signals, like pulses, you can use for things. So he has like this penchant for this test equipment that he sets up, and then he's like, I'm going to make music with my test equipment. But he had done a video where he had taken a couple tape machines, right? And he'd strung a big long piece of tape up. And then what he had done was the whole idea was to degrade the tape while it was recording. So he had set up like all these different things. Like he'd set up some sandpaper and an X-Acto knife and a kitchen, steak knife or something, right? And so the tape would run across these surfaces like the sandpaper and stuff, and so over time it would degrade.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was actually a super cool little thing. Like he played like a little piano piece into it to start it, and then you just listen to it, and then it wasn't degrading fast enough, so he added a little more sandpaper and like, it was a good little experiment, and he does a really good job of presenting it too, right? So it was like the presentation was really good.
And what's his channel called?
Just look up Heinbach. I think
Heinbach.
it's like Heinbach, Hainbach, something like that.
Hain. Okay. Yeah, I'll look it up.
Yeah, he was pretty good. Yeah, so what else? Yeah, what did I listen to? Did I listen to anything interesting? I was listening to this other band, this German band called Nadja, N
Naja.
A Nadja. They're on
Interesting.
Bandcamp. They actually have a
Okay.
whole ton of records. I had heard one of their records and kind of didn't really peg them for having a lot, like a big back catalog. And then recently I kind of started following them, and then I realized they had like a ton of records. Um, they do this kind of weird metal drone kind of music, but they do it well, right? I kind of like their thing. I was listening to it the other day. I went for a walk and listened to one of their records.
Cool. Yeah, I saw it on the ideas note. Um,
Yeah. And then another band I was listening to is called, I don't know where I got this, but they're called Growing,
hmm.
like Growing. And like, I don't know where I got their name from. Maybe I got it from uh Wata from Boris. Maybe it was one of the bands that she had recommended. But anyway, I put them on my Bandcamp, follow page, and then I finally got around to listening to them. And for some reason, I like as I was listening, I was picturing that they were using like some kind of Euro rack synthesizer stuff to make the noises. But then later, it was kind of sounding like guitars, but not like strummed, but just like they just got this really great tone where I was like, oh my God, how did they make this super? It was just like a super like buzzy, distorted kind of like sustained note, right?
Hmm.
And it was just like they had to like it was a really cool little ambient thing, but I couldn't. And one of the cool things was I couldn't tell if it was done with a guitar or if it was done with a synthesizer or some combination of both. And so that was interesting to me, and I was wondering like how they did it. And so I got my synthesizer out and I was like trying to replicate some of it. And I was getting in the ballpark, but not like I was like in like, you know, I don't know. I guess I was kind of along third baseline, like in the outfield, you know?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I don't think I was quite getting to center field or even getting into the infield, to be
Mhm.
honest. But I was in the ballpark.
Well, that's good. I mean, they do it professionally, and they came up with it. So
Yeah, yeah. I was
um,
out by the fence though still. So
yeah,
I'm trying to work my way in towards home plate, but it's going to take a while.
yeah. Well, maybe you can find something on YouTube and see that how they do it visually.
Maybe I was thinking, it could be Sustainiac territory.
Hmm.
Though I
Or
doubt like
Ebo.
they have a Sustainiac. Yeah, it could have been an Ebo. Yeah, they might have had an Ebo. I mean, the Sustainiac is so like weird rare. Like I never see anybody with one, so I kind of just doubt
Hmm.
they have one. They might have one though. Who knows, right?
I mean, Radiohead has the Sustainiac
Yeah,
in their
yeah.
arsenal.
Yeah, so anyway, so that's like something I was exploring. I was trying to make some music stuff. I had this idea, like I had a couple songs written and recorded. So I got like 3 songs, like I feel like they're kind of done. They could use work, but they're kind of done right now, right? But the thing is, what I want to do is I have an idea for like a whole album of songs, right? So I gave all the songs names and I tried to make like a little story out of the names. And then it was, it's easier to make names than it is to make songs.
Hmm.
So I have a whole bunch of names, right? So I divided the names up and then I put these names like in between the other names, you know, right? Like one of them's called like Captain's Log,
Hmm.
right? And so the idea was these in between things will be like short little snippets of like synthesizer weird sounds.
What would be the name of one of the in between ones?
Oh, Captain's Log.
Oh, that would be an in between one.
Yeah, or Stardate. What was it? Like I have a few Stardate 666, or something like,
Oh, okay.
they're just the kind of goofy, science like, horror, stuff, right? So, but the idea is like they'd be like a weird synthesizer, interstitial kind of, thing. And so I was trying to make up some weird stuff on the synthesizer for that. So that was like my other project.
That's
So I just
cool.
got
I mean, I think we might have been talking about some projects that are not results oriented, and some projects that are, like some projects you complete and then you move on. And then there are projects where you never complete them. They're just like, oh, I'll just keep on making weird synthesizer sounds and that'll just be how I pass the time.
yeah.
And it's fulfilling, but it's not, there's no point where you're complete and you move on and do something else. You can just do it endlessly. And
Yeah.
now you've made that into something that you can complete.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I focus on a module, and then I try and get a sound out of it. And then if I can record like, 30 seconds to 3 minutes of it, then that's the piece right there.
Hmm.
That's the thing. I think, I have like, this might be controversial, but I feel like a lot of the Euro rack stuff, I'm not sure that it's music.
Hmm.
you know, because it's like it's kind of this ambient thing and it just goes on forever. And I'm kind of wondering, does it have the repetition or does it have like, you know, it's like sound, it's like art, but is it music, you know?
Hmm.
And then a lot of that stuff, it goes on for a long time because that's easy to do. You just set the machine going and press the button and you can just listen, and it can evolve over time slowly. And that's kind of a cool thing, actually. Like I like listening to that. But also like I kind of set like a limit for myself where if I'm going to do it, I would prefer to keep it in the 3 minute category if possible, you know? Right. You know, because I'm always thinking like, you know, the rock song, like a rock song is 3 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, not always, but you know, like a big portion of the rock genre
Yeah.
is in the 2 minutes, 50 seconds category, right?
Well, I think it'd be different if you were making a full album of those kinds of pieces. Like if you had a totally ambient music, an ambient album of recordings, um, and you had no rock songs juxtaposed in between, then you could have 12-minute pieces or something like that, or 30 minutes or whatever.
Oh
Because
yeah.
I think it could be actually kind of jarring to like change up the sound that you're listening to every 3 minutes. But I think if you're listening to like a rock album and there's like a short piece, like an interlude of noise or of just ambience, I think that works well.
Yeah, I guess my idea was just to create kind of some segues between
Hmm.
the songs, you know? You know, so I mean, I just kind of look at it like my musical, you know, ability is kind of rudimentary. So like, you know, I just think of the key. So I'm like, okay, you know, like the song's in the key of C. So I can just drone on a C or octaves of C, you know, and then also, you know, there's a lot of fun you can have with the waveforms and like wave folding and, you know, stuff like that, right? You can kind of mix things together in the Euro rack to kind of make an interesting sound out of just like one pitch, right?
Right. I
So
mean
that's
that
kind of the
that
goal
brings up
there.
that brings up kind of an interesting idea, which is like the creation of a an album, like an LP. Um, and I think we've talked about this before. Like people used to have to engineer um, their the playlist so that the quieter songs would come later in the album because the grooves in the record were um, closer together as you got towards the core of the record. Weren't we talking about this?
Yeah, yeah. I'd heard some guys talking about that, and they said like essentially the nature of vinyl, like as the needle got closer to the record, they couldn't have, you know, you couldn't have as much dynamic content because it would
Hmm.
bounce the needle off the record, you know?
Yeah. So there's that aspect, and then there's also just like the journey that the listener goes on. It's like it's a good record is like a movie. You start off. Um, you have to start somewhere. Like think about the way like a James Bond movie starts off. There's like an action sequence at the beginning, then you roll the credits, and there's a song sung by Shirley Bassey and naked ladies flying around, and then you move into like like this the action that sets up the story, and then we know the rest of the flow from there. But that's the way that albums have been mapped out for really um,
Yeah.
since the beginning of
Well,
vinyl.
well, it's kind of an art form, you know.
Yeah.
Also, like you have a limit, like I forget how much, but it's like 20 minutes of music fits on a side of an album, right? You know, but
Right.
nowadays it's digital, so you don't, you know, you can string all your songs together beginning to end, you know.
Right.
Yeah, so anyway, so I'm kind of working on that, you know, that's my other project there. You know, I got to try and make more progress on that. It's been taking too long, you know. Um but anyway, yeah, so I got to record something. You know what I got to do is I just got to set a deadline and say like, okay, this week I write this first piece, and then next week I do something different. So whatever I
Mm-hmm.
come up with this week, is it,
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Deadlines are important.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I had some other ideas too, like I don't know if this is viable though, but I had this idea like, what if I wrote each song in a different key and then had the keys like from song to song, like do the circle of fifths or, something like that,
I mean, that's
I
a
bet
good
I bet
idea. I'm
I
sure
bet
it's been.
someone's done that, I don't
I
know
was just
though.
gonna say, somebody probably has done it, and it's just like it's a device that helped them. It helped them write that music.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking of doing it as some sort of, genius. It was more like just a device to make me think outside my box, because I would run into a song where I'm like, oh, I got to do this in the key of G, and like I never play anything in the key of G, so like now I got to rethink my fingering and like how I play and what chords I'm going to use. And if you're in the
Right.
key of G, like like if you're in a standard tuning, like if you play the open E, like what, that's a little different, right? Like you can go from G to E minor, or if you're playing in G minor, like what do? You know what I mean? It's like totally different fretboard,
Mm-hmm.
situation, and the open strings all have a different kind of relationship,
Yeah. No, I think it's cool to use kind of like limitations or create rules for yourself to um, to enhance your creativity. Um, on the other hand, like there's this band called the Ravenettes. I think they're from Finland or something like that. They had two albums in a row that were in a single key. Like one was like all in F and the other one was all in B or something like that. But they just wrote all of the songs in the same key intentionally. And you'd never notice by just listening to an individual song. They don't seem drony in any way. They're actually kind of like like 50s 60s um pop, kind of
Yeah.
old
Yeah.
like
Well, I mean,
rockabilly based.
yeah. Well, just because you play in a key doesn't mean you can't play in a different mode, right? So you could play
Right.
like, B minor or B major, or, it could be B major, but you're playing the dominant seven, like, because you're in the like what would be like Mixolydian or mode or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of possibilities there, right? You know, that's actually, I guess, like another limitation too. You're like, okay, I'm going to play in one key, but how can I make it different from the last song?
Right.
Not to mention, there's probably like plenty of rock albums where like a majority of the songs are in the key of A,
Yeah.
or E,
Right.
right? Right? Anyway, yeah, so that's my goal. I got to make some weird electronic sound effects for some songs, right? You know, so what are you doing this week? What's your goals?
um well, I've got guitar building goals and
Giving you a
uh
thumbs up, guitar building.
yeah. Yeah, so I've got to I need to buy and receive some parts to proceed on some of these projects. Um, I'm going to continue working on my um, uh, like arpeggio and like fingerstyle playing. Um, I have to say, like having a new guitar, even though it's very much, it's the sweet spot is the cowboy chord realm. It makes you play different things, so I'm enjoying that. Playing different kinds of things on the acoustic. I've also realized that acoustic guitars are designed to make everything you play sound louder. I mean, all guitars. I mean, like if you have an electric guitar, it's got pickups on it, and so when you plug it into an amp, it's really loud, so people can hear it. And that's never been my goal when I play the guitar, is to be loud. So I'm learning to play to play with that and just play loud and decisively, as opposed to like sheepishly, finishing my scale. Like, oh, I hope that's the right note. Like you can't hide.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you gotta take a stand, and make a statement,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
stand behind your own work, so to speak.
right. Yeah, and that's something that I'm learning through playing bass in a band. Sometimes well, on bass, you can play quiet, but most of the time you're presenting each note at about the same volume. Um, and so you just have to play confidently, and it sounds better. It sounds, it ties the whole band together.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. So what should we say in conclusion today?
Well, did you have any goals for this week aside from the
Oh,
synthesizer? Are you working on any?
yeah.
Oh, I mean, you
Yeah, I'm
probably
gonna
did
I'm gonna
say.
try and I'm gonna try and get this trem shifter rendered.
Oh,
So I
cool.
got the box here. I got my design kind of mostly done in Sketch. And I cleared off my desk mostly. It's actually kind of all full of crap now, but I got the whole synthesizer off and cleaned up all the cables, so I just got to pick it up a little bit more, and then I can get the mill out and I'll run the mill. So it's actually that it's actually pretty quick once I get it set up. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
take that long. Though sometimes I have to, like I said, for the first time through, sometimes it takes 2 tries to get it right. But anyway, yeah. So I'm going to try and get that trem shifter built,
Cool.
and then maybe I'll use it on a song, right?
Oh, that'd be great.
Maybe that would be good.
Yeah. So that's an ambitious week.
Yeah, if I can just get the box milled, you know, then that will, then all of a sudden, because I got the circuit board built, so there's a couple wiring questions because I'm going to kind of change up like how it's wired,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's that, and then like my design, like it's almost there, but it needs a little more thought. So I think another 15-30 minutes, like sitting in Sketch, like kind of planning out where all the things are going to go. And then probably another 15-20 minutes, half an hour to like prepare the files, because I got to convert all the things into SVGs and then separate them, into separate files, and then load those onto the mill. Right? It's hard to describe, but the mill, like, like those boxes, they look flat, but as far
Mm-hmm.
as the mill is concerned, this is like, it's like mountainous, there's like, it's just like, it can be just a fraction of an inch, like just a tiny fraction of an inch higher on one side. But when you run the mill, like it'll like cut out the shapes on one side, and then it'll just be scratching the surface on the other side. And then
Interesting.
if you do one side that where it's just scratching the surface, if you mill that down a little lower, then the other side might get milled too much. So usually what I have to do is break all the different parts into separate files and then kind of run each one, and adjust the height and the depth for each little bit.
Wow. Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a little bit of work. It's not that hard though. And then these things, like this kind of thing, actually mills pretty quick. If you do a circuit board or something more complicated, it can take longer to run the mill. It can take like 45 minutes or an hour. But usually, like if I run this kind of thing, just writing the names on the box or like milling in some markings, it can take like a minute or two.
Okay.
So it doesn't take that long. It takes like maybe 5 minutes, maybe for something complicated. It could take maybe
Cool.
15 minutes if you did a bunch of the words like all together,
Mm.
and maybe just like 40 seconds if you just did some circles to mark where the pots go.
Oh, you do that too. You mark the controls with the mill.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And then when I drill them on the drill press, it kind of, I use that to center the drill press.
Okay.
Right. So I mill the spots where I'm going to drill. That's also a good place where I test. because I know that like if I make a mistake, like if it's not aligned correctly and it's off center or something, then that'll get hidden when I drill the hole. So I start by marking the holes, and then I mill those first to see where they're at and make sure that it's aligned correctly on the machine, right? And then I can also check the depth on those, right? And then I go back and I start milling the other stuff like the names, the labels on the buttons
Mhm.
and things.
Okay, wow. So it's a few different passes.
Yeah, it does take a couple passes, yeah. Like I'll probably make, like I usually make like a file for the drilling, I make a file for the logo, I make a file for the labels, right? And there's 5 labels on there. I might do them all together, or I might do them separately, you know? But there's the labels for the switches, there's the labels
Mhm.
for the knobs, there's the logo, and then there's a label for the foot switch, as I think I'm gonna have a label on the foot switch too. So anyway, yeah, so that'll take a little while to set up.
Cool. Well, that'll be fun to watch. Are you going to post those on post some videos on Instagram?
Sure, you think I should? I could do
Well,
that.
I I think people enjoy watching the mill do its thing.
Okay, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll take a video, you know. It's kind of fun. It's interesting. There's a couple people on YouTube with mills. So like there's another guy that does stuff. What's his name? Municipal Water,
Oh,
right? So
interesting name.
yeah, I actually talked with that guy over Instagram. He was very nice, and he helped me out because I just got the mill and I wasn't quite sure how to run it. So he gave me a lot of advice. He does some really amazing things on the mill. So he's kind of my I kind of look to him for inspiration, you know.
Cool. Oh, is he? You said he's on Instagram.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll take a look.
yeah, Municipal Water, which is kind of a
Municipal
funny
water.
name.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Well, should we sign off?
I think we should. Yeah. Yeah. That was a pretty good discussion. We hit all the highlights. So thanks for watching, everybody, or listening. Um, let us know if you have some subjects that you want us to discuss, and if you have any questions about what we are talking about, and we will be coming to you next week at the same time, roughly, with another episode. So thanks again for watching, and yeah, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and hit the bell if you want to see every episode as it emerges.
Yeah. If you have any questions, put them in the comments.
Yeah, comment. All
Okay.
right,
Yeah. See you
rock
later.
on.